Hello and welcome. My name is Danielle,
I'm Radha.
and we are following up on our last video on what a fallen angel is. So today we're just going to do the usual popcorn shares and kind of dive into what these terms mean and how we can use them in our everyday life. So today's term is star seeds. This is a very important one. And we do realize that some of these topics can be a little touchy and perhaps offensive. And of course, we do not mean to be that way, but we're here to share some information and wisdom and knowledge that we have. So please do take with a grain of salt, and hopefully it will help provide some growth and evolution on what these things mean. So I want to welcome you, Radha, and it's a pleasure to have you per usual. And this is an important topic, especially being that you work in this beautiful publishing company, Radha Publishing House, and you curate books on starseeds. So I'd like to lead into the idea of what a starseed is from your perspective.
Absolutely. So happy to be here. And this is my favorite subject. I mean, we did a whole book series called Awakening Starseeds. So the term popped into my life a few years ago, and it did just come in as a kind of a download, like starseeds, starseed mission. And that's when I was like, oh, we need to do these books, Awakening Starseeds, because they're all over the earth, different starseeds. So how I view starseeds, and you may have your own view of them or terminology, is that starseeds are like galactic beings in nature, like maybe have traversed through the multiverses and have lived many, many lifetimes and had this incredible experience of being part of the star lineages, star families, star nations, and then even participated in the ongoing galactic wars that we know are going on. And at some point, there was this call that went out into the world, to the universe, multiverse from the world. And that call was all hands on deck. All hands on deck, because there was an understanding that certain NAA, negative, alien agenda was going on here. So that terminology comes from Lisa Renee, and she really explains it very well. But the point is that there was an overtaking of Earth. Like there was an imprisonment of this Earth, and there was the set timeline of the demise of this planet, beautiful planet. So many of the starseeds heard the call. It's said like many of them dropped down into this realm, they incarnated, and it's true, we may be living in a holographic universe, but that doesn't mean that wherever we come from and wherever we go through, we do have a real sense of that place being our home, And so a lot of people left what they considered home, what they considered family, what they considered to be their joy and happiness, in order to be volunteers in this sacred Mother Gaia. So Starseed is it's a really beautiful thing. And some people would say, well, isn't everyone a starseed? And to that, we would say not necessarily, because the souls of starseeds are very encoded with the galactic realm. So they have a galactic encodement inside of them, and in their DNA, even it's part of their soul DNA, actually, is their intergalactic memories, remembrances, understandings. And starseeds are really more on a mission. And so when they come to Earth, they forget everything. They come into amnesia like everybody else does on Earth. And so we're just here to help remind you guys what starseeds are, so that you can awaken to your mission, right, Danielle?
Yes, I love that. And you know what? I love that. Well, first of all, thank you to all the starseeds who are here, because I know this isn't easy. A lot of them are always like, I just want to go home, because they, in a lot of cases, do remember. And it can be very scary for someone who, and essentially in a world of very different energy, feels alone. And so a starseed has lived many lifetimes in other galaxies, and this is so dense. I mean, living in a world that's very 3D, it's very heavy for anyone, even if you're just a first timer, it's a heavy atmosphere.
Yes.
So it's interesting. I very much resonate with the angelic realm, but I also have fragments of a star seed. Oops, excuse me. So I do have a lot of similarities, and I kind of feel like we should touch on, some very, I don't want to say basic, but in a way it can be, attributes of what would help you to identify as a star seed, because some people might think, oh, this is just who I am, and they don't know anything about a star seed. They're like, oh, wait, this sounds like me. Like, I thought I was different. And it's like, well, you are. However, there's a lot of people out there that feel the way you do. You're not alone. And so I like these conversations because I feel like it brings comfort to those who are a little bit more aware of their remembrance, because it can be very scary, right? Wouldn't you say?
It's very scary. I mean, even as a little girl, really little, I always looked at the stars and I was like, I felt like my family's there, and I was like, these are my parents here. I was coming into like some kind of acting family, but that wasn't the case. Our Earth family is our family too. And the thing is, we're a universal family. We will get there one day. Universal family. First, we need to get to being an Earth family. But yeah, there is a feeling of always feeling different. I would say that's like the number one thing. It's not that you're more special, so don't be like, oh, you're a narcissist, because it's nothing like in fact, it's the opposite. Like in school, you may get picked on, or you may get like the way that your frequency actually offends people, and it activates people. So even as a little girl, I used to piss my teachers off so much, and I wasn't doing anything. I was super quiet. I was just being myself, and they would always get triggered by my presence, just being in the classroom, just being there and looking and witnessing them. It would agitate people because star seeds also see, like we're seers, we're oracles. We have this vision inside of us, but it can turn off when we're not nurturing that. But we can
Yeah.
see people who they really are. So as a child, I would always see people and see who they really were, and I wouldn't even say anything. I was just an observer, but that presence and that piercing seeing would really agitate people, and including my teachers. So they would my teachers would sometimes like get mad at me, yell at me, use me as an example, and it doesn't matter. Like I went to actually like 11 schools before high school. Yeah.
Wow.
So I went to
Okay.
many different schools. I had many different teachers, but it was often the same kind of thing. And it was very hard to make friends. Like it would be very difficult because I wasn't seen as like everyone else, right? So I didn't understand why, and it was so confusing. And I think starseeds feel ostracized and sort of bullied or pushed aside, or they're considered the black sheep. They're not like the family favorite. You know what I mean? They're not the family favorite. But then later in life, so that's early life for starseeds. It's very difficult for all starseeds. No starseed child gets through without getting some kind of severe, like trauma, opposition. But as they get older, people look to them because they look to them for leadership. They look to them to ask their, oracle questions. They look to them to try to figure out what the heck is this all about? Don't you think, Danielle?
I do. There's a level of sensitivity that comes with the star seed, and I feel like when you're that sensitive, I mean, it's kind of there. You get to a point where people know who you are based off of how they've interacted with you over a period of time, and they realize, oh my gosh, like this person is in tune. And you could call it psychic or whatever you want, but we all have these abilities to go outside the normal taste, touch, smell, here. And there's different levels to this, just like different levels to walking. You don't just start off running as a baby, you start off crawling, and then you graduate, like learning how to lift yourself up, and then you start walking. So there's stages, and I feel like evolution is getting to a point where we're kind of being pushed to grow further, and starseeds are here to push us to the point of like, let's go past this, guys. And
Yes.
you know
Boundary.
yeah,
That's the one thing, is that we're always like, so starseeds have like this big aura, and it pulsates a frequency that's different than the I don't know how to describe it, but it's just a little bit different. It's like a galactic frequency. So that frequency actually can agitate people, but that's also a blessing, because that frequency is actually part of the new frequency. So starseeds are actually frequency keepers, in the sense that they're pulling in this active vibration. Like I tell you all the time, in my right ear, I always hear like this galactic sound. It's like, ooh, it's like the galaxy. And it's like, sometimes I get annoyed. I'm like, could you just stop? Like, enough. Like, but that frequency is always moving through us. So this frequency is meant to break up the stagnant. It's meant to break up the old. It shakes things up. It has a rebellious nature. It's not bad rebellious. It's
right.
like, I'm not standing for the old paradigm. I'm here to create something new. That's why starseeds never fit in, because they're not meant to fit into the template of the old. They're here to help regenerate and create a new template for this galactic, world, so that we can be intergalactic, family.
So exciting too, because it has like such a frequency of like acceptance. Like, hey,
Yeah.
listen, like we're not here to say, bully. We want to, we know what it feels like to be kind of like, you know, bullied. I don't want to go too far into that, but there's a sense of level of energy awareness, and that's where there's that sensitivity, even down to having vivid dreams and saying, hey, listen, I'm having something going on in my astral level, and there's these connections. And it's not just your average dream. Sometimes you could be having a galactic war, like you're out flying, or you're connecting with other, you can astral travel, probably most likely way easier than most people. And you're helping people, you love to help people. So I feel like that.
I'm laughing because I'm like, that actually, can we just pause on that? Because that's where I want to say, that's one trait of a star seed, is they always want to be helping people. But sometimes they, well, I think one lesson a star seed has to learn is to relax, in not like we're not going to get stuff done, but we don't have to be responsible for saving everybody. And
Right.
there's this personal feeling of responsibility the starseeds have. Like, if someone's having a problem, they want to fix it, and that's why a lot of starseeds are healers, they're coaches, they're people who are in service of others, and they can be in any field, let's not limit it, but their natural tendency is to be a healer. And so one of the great lessons, like, I've had to learn as a starseed, and that I recommend that everyone kind of tune into, is that it's not your job to save people. Like, everyone's having their experience on Earth, and we have to respect that. And we share information. We offer, like, hey, if you want to show up, I'm here, but we're not gonna like take it so personal. Like, sometimes starseeds are like, I have to make sure this person's okay or whatever, and we have to, we're caretakers. So when we're emotionally invested, we over caretake. And so we have to learn that people learn on their own. Sometimes when they're ready, they will come, but it's not something we want to like save anybody, because our souls are eternal. We know that.
Yeah.
But I think there's this feeling, and this kind of like download, like, we have to pick up the slack for everybody. So
Yeah.
that being said, that's one of the starseed things, is we're super empathetic, and we're empaths, so we're always like feeling other people's emotions, right, Danielle?
Yes, that's a big one. Oh my gosh, it's so intense too, because sometimes you're just like, is this me? And this is where these practices are so important for spiritual hygiene, protection, you know, kind of like staying in your own energy space, but while still being connected to others. There's a lot of boundaries you have to learn, but this is interesting because there's so many similarities, and we're going to talk on this on another subject when it comes to earth angels. But these, star seeds that are here, they've got some powerful gifts, and sometimes people don't even know they're star seeds. It's so funny, and I'm thinking, oh my god, like it's so true. We are not of this earth, but we are on earth,
Yes.
and it's pretty powerful. The whole thing amazes me. There's actually something I wanted to share because I felt like this is really, really profound, Radha, and it's a little deeper, not as light as what we've just been speaking on, but like Ascension Glossary has some really phenomenal, content. And something stood out to me that was very deep, and I kind of want to touch on this because you do have some very deep understanding on star seeds, and a lot of times when you and I talk, it's very, in my opinion, I try to make it light, but this is a lot deeper than just your average conversation. So on Ascension Glossary, they do mention that starseeds enter this planetary consciousness body to experience a reincarnation and activate their spiritual mission for a wide variety of reasons and interests. The primary goal was to reestablish the potential freedom from forced reincarnation through the restoration of the cosmic sovereign law of one through the reincarnation of the Christos body crystal temple. In order to do so, the negative alien agenda and planetary domination, enslavement, hybridization, and abduction would have to be eventually revealed to humanity. So, guys, we're revealing some weird shit right now. Oh, excuse me, some stuff right now, but stuff that hasn't been said. So, I kind of want to dive into this because this is interesting. And I know there's a lot of things that could say, hey, this is what a starseed could be. But I'd like to go a little deeper. And if you could really, really expand on that, because I know you have so much wisdom in this category.
Yeah. Well, it's very, very multidimensional in the sense that there are many layers to the Starseed program. And that is part of that is also the genetic hybridization of other interplanetary species into human DNA. And so that can be positive and that can be negative. Let's be really real here. It's just like humans, humans, we're really polarized to the positive and negative. So if you can imagine that there are both positive and negative other beings that do exist in our huge galaxy. It's actually very narcissistic to think that we're the only ones here. That's narcissism. Is to think, oh, we're the best, we're the only ones, and then each country is like, it's like, no, at some point we will understand that we are a family, maybe dysfunctional, but we're a family on earth. we got, so at some point we will unite. There will be an understanding of this. We're not there yet. There's a lot of rift that's artificial, but in the bigger scheme of things, there are many things at play. There are souls of very advanced beings that do embody some human physical bodies. Okay, those are star seeds too. Some are again positive, some again are negative. So we have to be discerning people. Discerning. We have to learn discernment. We talk about this all the time, but a lot of people that are like in this UFO community, they're like, all ETs are great, just pick me up. And I'm like, no, you don't actually want that, because that's a whole nother story. That's actually a whole nother podcast. And I could share a lot about that, but it's not always positive and it's not always negative, but we have to be very discerning. And as star seeds, we start to remember. So one of my primary goals was in the remembrance. That's why I've written a lot of books. That's why I wrote the memoir, Stories of the Galactic Goddess, because it was remembering, like, I'm human, but I'm having these memories that are echoing into my being, you know, that are not non-human. And so what does that mean? It just means that we are multidimensional. We're all multidimensional. Every one of us. We all have many more experiences than just this one self. But I think we get so caught up in like, this is who I am and this is what I do, that we get lost in that persona, that it's very
Mhm.
difficult to expand our consciousness, that there's more to this than there seems to be.
Right. And this is why I love the practitioners of like past life regression, infinite cosmic records, because it brings forth an understanding on a like if you're going down a journey individually and saying like I want to understand myself. Oh, my hearing just fell off. If you're going down a journey and you're like I want to understand who I am, what better way than to dive into your consciousness? And there are ways to do that through hypnosis, again, past life regression, quantum healing hypnosis, and infinite cosmic records, which is a modality created by Maya the shaman, and it's phenomenal. And I've been watching these shows for years with a practitioner that I really love, and it really helped me to understand a lot of what you and I discuss, or just this world in general. And it's so interesting how everything's so interconnected, but as a person who sees things from that standpoint, it's interesting because you're like, holy cow, there is other beings outside of our galaxy, outside of our Earth, and when somebody says they're a starseed, I mean, there's of course, just like when you say I'm American, there's also Colombian, and then you've got people from Europe, and we're all from different parts of Earth. So in theory, we have a lot of different species of beings that are star seeds, and we don't want to go too far down that rabbit hole, but we do want to just bring to light what a star seed could mean and feel for someone. And these modalities can really open a person up to understanding, to remembrance, which is very important to know.
So important. It was actually through one of my regressions, or it was a hypnosis session, and it was through that I came online to one of my galactic selves, and it was so crystal clear. I mean, down to the T. I saw everything. It was very much more advanced, and it was like, oh man, here we are in 3D, and like this is like so behind times in a way, like, because there's much more technology that works with us. And by the way, it works. So a lot of the galactics actually work with sentient technology. There's a huge difference between sentient technology, and we'll have to talk about that another day. But the point is that yeah, that those experiences completely changed my life. It is through, the hypnosis, through infinite cosmic records too, that really I was able to access parts of myself that were intergalactic and not of this earth. And it empowered me in a way that's indescribable. It's changed my life forever. It's incredible how one session can completely shift your life, because once you see something, you can't unsee it. You can't forget it. It is part of who you are. And that's something that I was so happy and I was relieved. I was relieved. I'm like, oh, okay, so that's how it is. Phew. All right, so this is cool. I'm here. It's okay. Like it really gave me this sense of like, it's cool to be here, because that aspect of me is like doing her thing in this other dimension. She has her own ship. She's doing her thing. I'm like, that's how I've always felt it should be. But I'm still here, and I'm going to do my thing now as this human. So it's all good, And I think that gives us a sense of freedom, empowerment, mission, purpose. And it makes us less afraid of like what's going to happen in this lifetime, because when you know how expansive you really are, you're not going to we still trip out about the little things. We all have our like dilemmas going on. I'm not going to lie about that. But when I pull back my lens and I look at the big picture, I can see, whoa, this is so cool. You know, this is so
Yeah,
cool. Like I get to be here. I totally get to be a human. I love it. I love it, you know, and I love it more because of that. That gave, you
it's
know, so I hope that makes sense, but that was like a bridge for me.
that's beautiful. It's so special too because you realize, gosh, like these special abilities, intuition, and you can say things like clairvoyance and all these other words, but at the end of the day, it's just being in tune with yourself, being in tune with who you are and knowing your truth. And your truth is only your truth. No one could people love to tell people what to do and who they are, but the truth is know who you are. That's why I love healers that say you are your own guru, because at the end of the day, we're here to guide and facilitate and teach and let you fly. Like
Yeah.
we're no longer in that era of victim, and like that's the whole enslaved. That's why I brought that up, because we're at a point in evolution where we are wanting, especially as Starseed and Earth Angels, we want to help
Yeah.
free this in slavery, like, and we all know this what we're talking about here, and it goes very deep, but the truth is sometimes freedom is like it's felt from within. You have to know who you are and trust that and really speak your truth. I mean, it's a very powerful place to be when you know who you are, and then it's like, okay, now what? You know what I mean? Because it's like, okay,
Yeah.
now we have mission. We got to go forward, guys. And that's when your tribe starts coming into place. So I love that, star seeds, they do attract their tribe. They attract animals, they attract babies, they attract people into their life. And so, sometimes it could be intense too, because you look someone in the eye and you're like, oh, whoa, what was that? And it's not always, connected to romance or like a person, but it's like, I know this person, or oh my gosh, this person gives off an energy that I resonate with, but it's not something I'm familiar with. I would say don't be intimidated by it. Just trust if you feel like a good resonance with it. Um,
Yes,
it's
don't be afraid. If the energy isn't a bad vibe, if it's just different. And I think it's about, people are so concerned about like race wars, but the thing is there's actually a frequency war, and it's frequency. And so we have to like be like, if I'm around somebody that has a higher frequency, I'm like, cool. Because guess what? that that gets to rub off on you. You know what I mean? So like if someone's frequency is different, I think it's cool to try, frequencies. Some people have different obsessions, and I like to just feel, I'm really sensitive to frequency, but it can be hard as a star seed because like when we're in, like I was downtown Asheville today, walking downtown, and I was like, whoa, like there's so many people. I had to walk on the street because there was so many people. And it's not that I mind, but the thing is the energies, the frequencies are really scattered. There's a lot of people have a lot of distorted frequency because they're not doing their own inner work, and they may be having portals or entities. And so I mean, I know that star seeds actually have to get out and be amongst people, even though we're like, oh, we have to be in the frequency. We have to share the frequency because it's the bandwidth that we're putting out, and we have to intermingle as much as possible, actually, and rub elbows with people and all that stuff. So what I'm trying to say is starseeds actually, they can feel retractive because a lot of frequencies feel what I would call like crude, or they
Mm,
feel cutting because their frequency actually people's frequencies are like at this vibration, like the music, the vibration and frequency of the music has been, actually it was a plan by, it was a plan to actually lower our frequency, so they put it at a different hertz than it was meant to be. And so what happened is that automatically it distorts our DNA, it distorts our cells. When we listen to it, when we blast it and we're jamming out, it's actually it's like cutting our energy field. It's not expanding us, it's like cutting us. So starseeds can feel very, the way I call it is like allergic. Like I feel an allergic action to certain frequencies, and most of the frequencies here feel like an allergic reaction. That's just the truth. Like it's very difficult sometimes. So if you feel, why do I feel this way? Why do I feel so sensitive? It's not that there's something wrong with you. It's that you may be so sensitive that you realize this is not the organic frequency that was meant for your being. So
Right.
therefore, you're going to have to use more protective methods. You can go back to our protection video and learn about that, but you're going to have to shield up, pillar of light, do all of these kind of precautions so that you're not absorbing everyone else's frequency. And then as you said earlier, I wanted to bring that back because, you know, this is another starseed trait is they people will lay their crap on them or whatever because they're so nice and loving. And then starseeds will question themselves. Oh, maybe I'm not good enough. Oh, maybe I, you know, it's my fault. Blah, blah, blah. They take the blame. They take the hit a lot. And so what
Yeah.
starseeds need to do is not be that punching bag. They're not here to be, you know, for people to like lay their crap on. They're here to master this humanness and to learn how to hold this frequency and walk through and be with people, and not, people can try their old shenanigans and you're just not gonna, it's just not gonna penetrate anymore. It's like before we used to be like and take it in, and now
Right.
when you do this mastership work, you start to, it's not coming in. The narcissists aren't penetrating. There's nothing to actually cling into. They can't hook into you like they used to. Those kinds of things are not available to them anymore. Right, Danielle?
Right. Right. And it leads me to like that remembrance of like an empath because it's kind of similar in a way. I feel like a lot of empaths are star seeds actually.
Really?
And they love to form a deep relationship too. And so sometimes, you know, those deep relationships require boundaries, knowing who you are, mastering yourself, not taking on others' energy. Because people do lean on you. Let's face it, starseeds are leaders. And the truth is it could be, you know, something you step into from birth and you could be just this amazing like starseed from the get-go, or it could take you some time to really get to know who you are. And that's okay. None of it's no right or wrong way. It's just that path to remembrance is different for everyone. Sometimes it gets triggered by, you know, a near-death experience, or sometimes it gets triggered because you've been through trauma. Sometimes it gets triggered because you were born just remembering. Sometimes it gets triggered because you go through so many healing sessions. And then sometimes it gets triggered because one day you're staying up late watching a YouTube video like this. I mean, you just don't know how this is gonna like trigger you.
It's
And
so
so,
true.
yeah, right? It's so interesting. I really love this topic because I feel like, you know, star seeds, they're just so unique and special. And um it's so interesting to me how similar star seeds, earth angels, empaths, and like just people who in general are in tune with their psychic. It's interesting how much similar there is. So it has to, for me, there has to be a point where it's like maybe we are all star seeds, guys. But you know, that's, you know, there's not everyone is, and then I don't know how to kind of explain that. Maybe you could touch on that, but it's definitely an interesting topic because I do personally relate to all of these, you know,
Mm.
even down to being connected to and drawn to the metaphysical world or different religions, you know, because you want to expand your mind and think, you know, what is out there, you know?
I have a question for you because you said maybe we're all star seeds, but have you ever been around somebody who's super dense? Like their energy is dense, their consciousness is dense, their conversation is dense, everything. It's almost like it's like they are yeah, they're just on, it's not bad, it's just they're not quite, they're I don't know. You know, so I mean, I think starseeds, they know when they are. And a lot of people don't identify. That's the truth. Like it's not like a magical costume you put on. Okay. It's not like a makeup and costume. It's not a song and dance Broadway show. It's a
Yeah.
it's a deep inner knowing. And I think we can look at our own families and say, wow, you know, when I
Mhm.
talk about star seeds, like the eyes start to roll into the heads, you know, like with my family, and like they're like, uh-huh, you know, like that's the thing. So I don't, so to say everyone is a star seed, we're all sparks of God,
There we
and
go.
there's a
I like
lot of
that.
there's also a good amount of I forgot what the term is, but they're not players, like they're just stagnant. There are soulless beings. So I
For
don't
the
want
background.
yeah, background people. So I don't want to confuse people and be like everyone's a star seed, because there are I went on a mission trying to save like a lot of background people that actually
Got it.
didn't have, it wasn't in their life path to have a mission. They, in fact, they were maybe the opposite. You know what I mean? So I think, you know, I think everyone's beautiful, everyone's magical, everyone has a purpose, but not everyone. If you ask your family, Danielle, would everyone identify as a star seed? I don't think so.
No, I would have to, they'd be like, what are you talking about? I'd have to
No.
explain it so that, watch the video, but no, just kidding. No, some of them would relate to certain attributes of what I explained, but they would be confused. They're like, how's that a star seed? Because I feel like some people are too programmed into the analytical that they are not in tune with the, you know, I think it's maybe a closed heart too sometimes,
Yeah.
but you're right. Not everyone is a star. I do feel a lot of us are. I'm not saying every
So
single
the
person
ones that
because
we're
I have
connecting with are
a
star
level where,
seeds, and people that are watching are probably star seeds.
yeah,
But there's a whole group of others. There's many others, and it's not that
yeah,
we're creating. And I'm not here to create separation. It's just like if you look at a plant, one plant is an orchid, one
mhm,
plant is a rose. It comes from that lineage. It's not a better or worse, right? So I'm not, so again, it's not about being like, oh, I'm better because I'm a star seed. We're just explaining what a star seed is. And then again, people will actually literally be offended, some people, if you call them a star seed. So I think we shouldn't generalize it. It's very specific. And you know, if you know in the core of your soul, then you are a star seed. If you still don't get it, then you're probably not a star seed. That's how simple it is.
yeah. All right. Well, this has been really interesting. I'm so excited to dive into our next one because we're going to be talking about what a earth angel is, and there's some similarities. But star seeds, you guys, yeah, like Radha said, you're gonna know. I'm a little optimistic and like to throw it out there that maybe we all are. But hey, I don't disagree because I know this world's dense and there's a lot of darkness out there. But yeah,
If
it's
we're
fun to
all star seeds, we'd already be ascended.
that's true.
I mean, come on, we'd already be on another galactic level than 3D. So I'm so happy though for all our star seeds that are listening. Thank you so much. And we are here to spread the love, to share the love, and know that we love all. You know, we're not separate from others. At the end of the day, we are all God's spark. We are all a pillar of the divine. If we choose to have many, many more lifetimes of density, that's a personal choice. If we choose to step into a star seed mission, that is a choice. We all have a choice on this earth, and that is part of the game that we are playing right now. So thank you so much for tuning in and listening. Until next time, much love and blessings. Bye for now.